kick off here in just a moment. Today you have joined a webinar around driving user engagement via cloud-managed Wi-Fi, and you'll be joining our product marketing manager from Mojo Network, Sean Blanton. We're going to begin in just a minute here. It's a global call, so I know that we have a couple of people joining from all over. Okay, we're going to go ahead and kick it off. Again, thank you for joining. My name is Erica Hashemi, and I'm the Senior Channel Marketing Manager at Mojo Network. Today, you are attending a webinar around driving user management via cloud-managed Wi-Fi. And our presentation is going to be delivered today by Mojo Network's Product Marketing Manager, Sean Blanton. And Sean just returned from NRF, the big show, which is National Retail Federation's annual conference in New York. So he's going to give a little bit of recap from the event, share what he saw there with everyone, and then also demonstrate one of our new releases, which is Mojo Canvas. So Sean, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you.
Excellent. Well, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everybody around the world. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm very excited to share both my impressions of the show, but also today I'm really going to be focusing in on giving you a really good look at our platform. So I want it to be very demo-focused and be able to really use our product to communicate the new concepts that we're delivering to the market. I'm going to start, though, by talking just a little bit about Mojo Networks. I want to talk to you about our platform, where we focus, and as it relates to engagement, where we're going to be talking about most intently, I want to walk you through that workflow and give you a feel for all the different terms that we use and the different feature sets and value adds that we're bringing, so that when we get to the demo, we're all on the same page. Now, as Eric mentioned, you guys are all on mute throughout this particular presentation, but we do want to entertain your questions. In fact, I love a nice, healthy discussion at the end. So please use the questions field in the GoToWebinar control panel to ask your questions throughout, and then we will circle back and make sure that we answer them all as we go through. So let me start first by giving you a little bit of insight into Mojo Networks. In particular, I wanted to highlight the Mojo Cloud Managed platform. You know, at Mojo Networks, we are a fully integrated platform, the only one in the industry that provides a complete workflow for Wi-Fi access, security, and engagement. And so what that platform entails is a set of features that arm your users and also arm yourselves with all the necessary components to install and configure, to monitor and to optimize, and ultimately to respond when necessary. And it follows these three major tracks in the Wi-Fi space. And as I mentioned today, we're going to be focusing on the engagement track. Certainly access and security play a big part in the conversations happening at NRF, especially around in the world of security, talking about compliance, but also understanding that the emerging trend of the Internet of Things and the amount of devices that are coming onto the network that are not just your standard or your typical smartphone, tablet, and desktop. There's a lot of conversations around security, but that's a topic for another webinar. And the same goes for access, the ability to distribute Wi-Fi across stores globally, no matter how large or small your footprint, to be able to deliver features and reliability at the edge was a big topic at the NRF show this year. Again, a topic for another webinar. Today, we will be focusing in on engagement. Now, when I talk about the cloud managed engagement workflow, I mentioned before that we're really looking at the three major steps that bring this workflow together. It starts with installation and configuration. Now, in the context of engagement, what I'm referring to here is the development of and the setup for your captive portal. Now, we're going to take a deep look into what's contained within a captive portal. But generally speaking, Captive Portal has your front-end configuration and your back-end configuration. On the front end, we're talking about the splash page. So we'll get a really good look at Mojo Canvas, which is our web-hosted splash page editor. It allows you to render beautiful and stunning splash pages without any web design skill, all from the cloud. And on the back end, we're looking at our authentication plugins. These are the different techniques our users can use to connect to the network. And we're going well beyond the standard click and go through, but really looking at ways where we can ultimately engage with the end user, with our customer, by leveraging authentication plugins that actually allow for data share and direct communication. Now, when it comes to monitoring and optimizing, here we're really looking at our really deep bed of analytics. And this is going to flow from a more of an anonymous perspective when we're talking about Wi-Fi analytics. What we're really talking about is the information collected via our passive and active scans of the airspace. We're seeing wireless clients, and we are taking that raw data, analyzing it, and visualizing it into some really key concepts that help us to understand traffic patterns and behavioral patterns in and around our stores. So taking very similar concepts that you may have applied to your website and applying it down in the brick and mortar. And then, of course, as your customers are actively engaging with you via the splash page and authentication plugins we discussed before, now we'll be able to take that set of raw data and analyze it, break down demographics, help us to understand who's in our store, who wants to talk to us, and ultimately giving us the opportunity to talk back, either through direct means, maybe an email address or a phone number, or through in-browser messaging, which is the hot new topic we'll be talking about today. And that's where we can start to look at some high-level HTTP content analytics to help deliver even more value. And that delivery is our response and our action. So we're talking about a lot of different ways where, depending upon what's happening in the store, we can actually respond in real time in a variety of different ways. In some cases, it means taking the information that we see, perhaps a certain device walks into the store, and automating that data migration to a third-party platform that can then trigger a response, perhaps an email sending out or an alert to a sales official, depending upon what we know about that particular device. So that talks about real-time presence alerting, and also the ability to take our more measured approach, the analytics that we collect day over day, month over month, and push those to third-party systems as well, to it automatically, so that information can be overlaid on top of other statistics. All of a sudden now we have another piece of the story, and we have a more complete picture of what's happening at our store because we've gained new insights through our Wi-Fi platform. And then ultimately, the goal here is customer outreach. And as I mentioned, this can take a lot of different forms. We can be communicating to your existing programs that perform outreach to your customers, in which we are just informing them about either their presence or the amount of times they've come and visited through a loyalty function. It could also be actually triggering messages based off of their behavior while on the network itself. And that's when we talk about things like interception and interruption, where we can actually communicate to a guest while they're on the network, while they're actively browsing. So before I step into the demo itself, I thought it was prudent to highlight a couple of key definitions. And these really represent some of the new things that we're doing here at Mojo Networks, and really some not so new concepts out in the retail space at large, but certainly the very top of mind. And in my conversations at NRF, we really found that these were some of the topics that were being asked about, both what we thought about them, but also how do we handle them. So showrooming was the big topic. I talked to almost every single retailer about this particular concept, because in some cases it poses a serious threat to their business. In other cases, they know it's happening, or maybe they don't think it's happening, but they're concerned about it nonetheless. And so we talked a lot about this concept of showrooming, which from the end user perspective, showrooming is the practice of visiting a store or stores in order to examine the product in the real world before buying it online at a lower price. And often what's happening is that while that particular customer is in that store, they're actively searching for that lower price while in the store. And that's a product of smartphones today and the power that they bring and the ability to browse and to snap photos. So this concept of showrooming, although present for some years, continues to grow and continues to be more of an actual threat, because what we have here is an activity that is happening that we sometimes feel we can't stop. Today I'm going to show you some of the ways that we are actively combating this, and also ways that we're, in some cases, encouraging it. We'll get back to that in just a second. Now, interception is a concept that I want to define as well. Interception is the practice of triggering a response when a particular user visits a site or a group of websites. Now, interception, this activity is actually in direct contrast with showrooming. And it's a response to showrooming where we're going to actively communicate to our guests while they're in the process of visiting certain sites that we've targeted as choice sites. Now, it doesn't always fall into the showrooming conversation. There are some other applications of this as well, but it is very much tied to this particular idea. And finally, we have injection. And injection is the practice of inserting custom script into a web browser during an active session. Now, some of you, if you have a security background, you may think injection and you may be thinking about it from a security context. What we're doing here is we're using injection to insert either ads or overlays into the web browser session itself to further the conversation, to continue to deliver information, deliver ways of communicating and ways of engaging. And the custom scripts that we can define are either drop-downs through a menu, which we'll take a look at, or actually custom script that can be developed with a third party. So now that we have a good framework for the new concepts and really some of the hot topics that were discussed at NRF this year as it relates to Wi-Fi and our Wi-Fi platform, I want to dive into the demo. And I want to show you some of our engagement platform really from start to finish. So we'll hit on some high notes. We'll dive deeper into the new concepts. And again, I'll please ask your questions in the question box. I'm excited to dive deeper on any concept you wish to dive deeper on. So as I hop into my cloud-managed platform, you'll see here that the first place I hit our primary dashboard, this is Mojo Launcher, or Launchpad, excuse me. And really, it just gives an opportunity for me to dive into all the various services that I have access to as it relates to the Mojo platform. Today, we are going to be focusing on Guest Manager. Our Guest Manager has two primary purposes. On the one hand, it supports our captive portals. And we're going to dive into the development of and deployment of captive portals in just a bit. The other primary purpose for Guest Manager is to store and to visualize all of our analytical data. This is the information, as I mentioned before, that we're collecting via passive and active scan. It's also the information that we're collecting via active connections and data share from our end users, from our customers. And one thing I want to point out here is that everything that we look at falls into this concept of location awareness, meaning that my data aggregation can be looked at a very high level. Here, we're looking at footfall by duration, that on any given day across this entire group of locations, I can get a feel for how many particular visitors were here during a certain window of time on that particular day. I can also look at concepts like dwell time, which help me to understand duration of time. So on this particular day, there were a certain number of users that spent a certain amount of time. And if I like, I can dive deeper into a very specific location and get that very detailed information at that level. So this just provides a very easy way to get a deep picture, a very specific picture, but also to get more of an aggregate view, so that we can really understand where our trends start to develop, and in some cases where our trends start to break down. Now, Wi-Fi analytics, I mentioned, are also referred to as anonymous analytics. The concept here is that as we scan the airways for networking purposes, we can take that same raw data and we can conceptualize it, but it is, after all, a passive scan. It is a MAC address with a couple of key statistics associated to it. And because we are picking this up passively, we obfuscate the MAC address and we hash it. We create a random figure. Now, the same MAC address will hash in the same way, but that random figure allows for us to look at this information but still protect the privacy of our customers who are in our stores. Once our customers opt in, here we can start to connect their actual MAC address to their profile for further engagement. But in this context, what we're really looking to understand here is what larger behavioral trends are we seeing. And almost always, across any customer I've worked with, you will see a very healthy wave that appears over time. And that's because our customers tend to come on the similar days. They tend to come during similar times. And what this helps us to see is what those days are and what those times are. But just as importantly, when there are times where that trend is interrupted, either with a spike or a dip of data that is unexpected, it gives us an opportunity to circle back and to investigate. And without that insight, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do so. Now, one of the things that we can do with our analytics that is really unique is visualize it, and we can use this concept we call zoning. Now, zoning is the mixture of a lot of different topics. It allows me to understand concepts like footfall and dwell time, but also I can create a zone so that I can understand those concepts within a very defined space. For example, as I bring this zone out, what you're seeing here is the average number of visitors per day across the last 7 days. And as I move this zone smaller and wider, you're seeing what the number entails across this entire zone. Now, what's really unique about this particular visualization technique is that we are not triangulating in the strictest sense of the word. What I mean by that is that each individual access point is actually computing probable location through a series of what are known as stochastic algorithms. And I won't get into the depths of the math here, but suffice it to say, this particular algorithm helps us with our security and our access location tracking. And so it has a perfect application here. And what it means is that even if I have one single access point in my store, I can still visualize zoning information. And that is a very unique aspect to the Mojo platform. I can also overlay dwell time so that within this same zone, I can look to understand what the average dwell time was. And as you'll see here, in this particular example, the closer I get to my access point, the higher my dwell time goes. As I start to expand, that dwell time starts to drop, but then it starts to rise again, which tells me that we have a very high concentration right at the core of our access point. And that further out in these hallway areas, we're seeing less traffic, but then once we start to incorporate these end booths, we start to see that dwell time rise again. And this can be really valuable for a business who's looking to understand where and from what component of the access point high dwell times exist and high foot traffic exists. So as I move on from analytics into our captive portals, I want to first show you the development of a captive portal in the back end, and then we're going to dive deep into designing it on the front end. Now, simply put, the captive portal backend configurations, these are all the mechanics that need to be set up so that our data passing can happen seamlessly. Authentication plugins are the key to this aspect. These are the various methods by which my guests connect to my network. And you'll see here that although we do support that classic click-through, which is check the box and go through, anonymous access, at Mojo Networks, we developed a series of authentication plugins that allow us to leverage online communities that already exist through social media plugins, as well as your own personal communities through loyalty programs or email programs. And so what I have here is an opportunity to really ask my customer, while they're in my store, while they're connected to my network, to engage with me further. And what we found, and what the conversations at NRF really showed, is that that is the optimal moment. When that procedure is made easy and is in line with other services like Wi-Fi, we see huge adoption. Now you can see here that as it relates to social media, what we're doing is we're creating an app on the social media platform, and it really provides us with two opportunities. One, to ask the end user to share information from their profile, and two, to actually like us while they're going through. And this is huge. This gives us a really great opportunity to activate that user on social media. So where once the digital world and the physical world were the two primary mediums over which we communicate with our customers, that social world is becoming a huge element to the conversation, and it's very untapped, even today, with that kind of raw, almost grassroots communication about products and services. So the ability to get someone to like you allows you to communicate within their particular social media stream, be it Facebook or Twitter or otherwise. And that gives you another opportunity to carry the conversation and to further your mission of getting the word out through their liking and through their following of your activities. The other heavily leveraged plugin is our web form, because it allows for us to ask for very specific targeted information, and this can be hugely valuable when we're looking to enroll our guests into our existing loyalty programs. Guest Manager has a unique API client built in that allows us to pass information automatically through our third-party integration capabilities, so that as a guest connects to your network in real time, they'll have the opportunity to also enroll into your program. And it doesn't just use our designated fields, it allows us to actually offer custom fields as well. So that if, for example, favorite color is a key attribute to your VIP program, this is an opportunity for us to gather that information right from the get-go. Now you'll also see here that I can set all of my QoS properties so that I can actually determine on a per plugin basis how long my users connect, what their speeds are, and also where they're sent. And this is really important because I need to understand if this information is being sent to that third-party system and whether or not my customer is going to be redirected to my homepage, for example, to a special page that I've designed, or to our Canvas landing page. And landing pages or splash pages, and even our coupons and text messages, all of this is combined within Canvas. Canvas is my opportunity to design through the concept of a campaign all the different elements that our customers will interact with as they connect to the network. The splash page is the first page they see. The landing page is where they're sent directly after. And the coupons are sent via SMS or MMS, and when certain websites are hit. And that is the interruption that we talked about before. So let's take a look at what that looks like here. So I've created a new campaign, and this brings me directly into our design tool. As I mentioned, Canvas is a web-hosted splash page design app. We use a template-based approach that allows us, rather than drawing from a blank screen, and certainly rather than coding from a blank, text file, this gives us the opportunity to edit with it from a template-based approach. So here, I can modify images, I can modify text, I can change the page and the plugins that I'm using. Canvas also introduces a couple of advanced plugins like video and poll that ride on existing plugin infrastructure but allow for us to expand our capabilities. For example, playing a video while that user connects, or answering a simple question. If you're looking to roll out a new product, if you want to get some targeted and in real-time feedback from your customer base, throw a poll out on your Capture portal. Do it for one day, and you'll be amazed how many responses you get as users are connecting to your network on a regular basis. And they're going to provide you with that information right then and there. Now, all splash pages that are designed within Canvas are optimized for mobile. So you'll see here that the end result is a prepackaged bundle of HTML and CSS and JavaScript designed for desktop and tablet and smartphone. And Canvas allows me to constantly check my work to see exactly how that page will live and breathe while I have it out here. Now, splash pages are the page that you see while connecting. Landing pages give me the opportunity to connect a guest with a page designed on the same platform directly after connecting. Now, the customer at this point, they're free to browse the web where they want to browse. What I'm dropping them on is a content hub. This is a page that allows me to communicate and deliver new products, new services, but also taking advantage of some advanced plugins. We have the opportunity to use buttons, for example, to embed polls and surveys and videos that are longer, that are more in-depth. But because the guest is connected and we're either incentivizing them or simply asking them, because we value their feedback, as you see in this example, we can get some very good information from our guests as they browse in our store. Our buttons also allow us to connect to services like Apple Wallet, App Store, and Google Play Store, so that any of us out there who are looking to actively advertise that, yes, we have an app, here is how you get it. Dropping these buttons on this page is a very great way to incorporate and to increase downloads of that particular app or connections into the Apple Wallet function, because you're putting it right there. You're putting it right on their device, right in plain sight. Again, you'll see the ability to upload images, change custom text, incorporate other plugins. Just gives us, again, a content hub for our customers to review while they connect to our network. And then finally, Canvas gives us the opportunity to design coupons. Now, coupons work in a really great way. Coupons give us the opportunity to interrupt a message, to actually intercept, the website that a user is connecting to and communicate a new idea. You'll see here that a lot of these, again, in the same vein, template-based, custom text, custom images, but their purpose is to be sent via MMS when a certain website is intercepted. So let's take a look at what that looks like here. As I go back to my campaign, what happened to my Pro campaign, you'll see here that I have a little icon at the top right-hand corner for engagement. What I've configured here are certain websites that I want to intercept. I mentioned interception is the practice of triggering a response when a certain website is hit. As our guests browse the web, they're going to go to certain websites. If, for example, we are concerned about showrooming, the concept of, or the practice of, going to a competitor site or to an e-commerce site to look for better prices while in a physical store interacting with the product itself. Here we can actually input various features or various websites. And when that particular customer goes to that website, we don't care what they do. We're not doing deep packet inspection so that we can actually see where they're browsing. But they go to that domain, that can trigger an MMS or an SMS function so that they receive that content in real time. And this happens after a matter of seconds. In fact, I'd like to show you real quick here just a short video that I put together showing this particular feature. What you'll see is that in this particular example, we have a user signing onto the Wi-Fi, sharing their phone number as a result. Of course, this particular feature is part of that opt-in process so that a guest is interested in receiving these opt-in promotions. So they come in here and they enter their phone number. And what you find is that after browsing for just a few seconds, that MMS is triggered. And the MMS, visually appealing, gives us the opportunity to communicate either new promotions. It could be a simple message of letting them know that they should always talk to the salesperson at the store, and perhaps prices will be matched, or that deals can be found, or that there's always promotions running. It intercepts that quest for a better price. It pulls them back into the store, and it does it in a very visually appealing way so that it really catches your eye. But interception is also used strategically. And what we're finding is that rather than simply combating showrooming, interception can be used in a very strategic way. For example, setting up a promotion that runs when a certain website is hit we may opt on a certain weekend, a certain holiday weekend, or a high traffic weekend to redirect all users to that specific page. That means that every single customer coming into our store, connecting to our Wi-Fi, is receiving that in-store promotion automatically. They're encouraging others around them to sign onto the Wi-Fi to receive that message automatically. And what's happening is a positive feedback loop is appearing. Guests that experience that particular activity come back. They sign onto the Wi-Fi. They want to be privy to these promotions that they can't receive elsewhere. They tell their friends, hey, sign onto the Wi-Fi, you won't believe what you'll see. And as they're signing onto the Wi-Fi, each time they check in to see what types of promotions are running, they're seeing our splash pages, they're seeing our landing pages, they're getting access to that content that we put up there, and we're constantly reinforcing the idea of gathering information and getting information. So finally today, I want to talk to you a little bit about injection, the last concept of our internet topics. And injection is more holistically looked at as the concept of in-browser messaging. Now, I want to actually talk to my guests while they're on the web. Sometimes it's because our particular place of business is more of a casual place where our customers are coming to actively browse the web. In other cases, we may want to capture the attention of those who are with shoppers, who are not actively engaged, who are on their smartphone hanging out on the Wi-Fi while their friends, while their spouses, whoever they may be with, are actively shopping. And of course, there's always those that are just outside your store who are resting or relaxing in the main corridors, perhaps of a mall area, or if you're in an outdoor scenario, in an outdoor mall area, and still have access to your Wi-Fi, are still in range of that signal, and may be attracted by the communication that happens therein. So here, with our in-browser messaging wizard, we take the same campaign-based approach. Campaigns consist of a group of locations, either single or group, and allow us to create ads, overlays, and ad sources for consistent in-browser messaging. Now, ads are pretty simple. It's a nice bar that pops up. Let me sign back in here. An ad pops up, and it allows me to use a various size targeted for a particular platform type. So that's smartphones and tablets and desktops all have their unique experience. And really simply, it's a nice image that I can pop up at the bottom of the screen that can link to a particular URL, so that we can always know where they can get access to new deals to learn more about our products and our services. It could also be and act as a revenue stream, so that if your particular business is the resale of other vendors' products, this is an opportunity to actually sell advertising space on your Wi-Fi network. It's not just about placing that logo or that brand message on the splash page. Now it can be persistent throughout the browsing experience. Ad sources are cool because this allows us to actually inject custom script. I'm going to show you an example in just a second where we had a custom menu that was created. And this custom menu, interactive, allowing us to communicate over social media, to promote app downloads, and to browse our website. But an ad source, its purpose is to allow for that creativity, that custom design work. So anyone out there who has teams internally or agencies externally that work with web languages would have an opportunity to inject some custom script here. And then finally, overlays interrupt the session itself. So as I'm browsing, I have the opportunity to pop up a system, whether it be a video or an image or survey, and you can see here that I can actually configure how long it's open for, how long until the close button appears, and how often it displays. So if we come back here and give you the visual, we can take a look at what this in-browser messaging really looks like. So as I hop onto the web, now I'm not targeting specific websites. Any website the user ends up on, you can see here down below, my ad starts to appear. So this is our ad insertion. It allows for us to do a simple banner ad that links to a particular site. Now, down below, you can see that we have our custom script, in this case, our menu item, that allows for us to interact with the site throughout the session. It's a persistent ad that would menu that would appear. And then finally, we skip through just a little bit, we can take a look at our overlay. And our overlay interrupts the session. It forces the user to watch a particular video, to interact with a particular survey, or, as I mentioned before, to simply look at a particular image or communication. And we can control how long it stays up for. It can auto-close. The close button can delay. But here, we're watching this video and we're offering information about a new service or a new product. So I want to thank you guys for taking part in this webinar and taking a look at the engagement platform here at Mojo Networks. Again, having that fully integrated approach gives us the opportunity to deliver these high-value features in the same platform as your access and security so that it all fits together, and that integration is not maintained by you or your people. What it also allows us to do as it relates to engagement is really carry the conversation from start to finish. Use splash pages as a way of connecting with our guests and learning more about them. Landing pages act as a content hub to deliver new information and to be a repository for new features, new products, but also to connect guests with other online services they may not otherwise connect with. And then the combination of in-browser messaging and MMS triggering allows us to continue the conversation throughout the browsing session, either to promote new deals, to be strategic about encouraging more Wi-Fi usage, or to combat showrooming. These various tools allow us to offer that constant communication and encourage our customers ultimately to continue with their shopping experience. So at this point, I would love to entertain some questions from the group. And if we can't get to them all today, we'll make sure that we do a direct response shortly thereafter. Also, you can get in touch with your Mojo rep to get a more personalized demo as well.
Terrific. Thank you, Sean. I'll open it up for questions now. As I had earlier chatted in the window, please submit any questions to the Q&A window, and we're going to go ahead and get to those. Also would just like to elaborate on the slide here that Sean is showing regarding your free access point. So you can either contact my rep at mojonetworks.com, shoot us an email, and we'll get the process going, or give us a call at that 877. In addition, one of your Mojo sales reps will be in touch with you in order to verify shipping information and qualification arrangements, and then we can get that access point sent out to you. Okay. A couple of few questions here. Let's see. Okay, I see a question here regarding text messages. Sean, how often are text messages sent when a guest visits a site?
That's a really great question, and it's actually a customizable element. Let me hop back into my demo environment so I can give you a quick peek. So as you look within our engagement components, we actually have a resend window. So the resend content window allows me to limit the number of messages that are sent. If, for example, my particular business encourages high visit rates, I have people visiting multiple times a week, I may not want to hit them with a text message every single time they go to this particular website. So I may distribute that text message that could be a weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly response to that particular site, which basically means that if, for example, I set this to 15 days, then from the moment I receive that first text message, no matter how many times I visit the website's key to intercept within the next 15 days, I will not receive a second text message. On that 16th day, I will. And I'll point out here as well that from an analytical perspective, even if we are not triggering SMS or MMS messages, we will be visualizing this data and providing you with context as to how many times these websites are being visited, and how many times users are engaging on them. So you may find that for the 15-day window, our customers are visiting these particular targeted websites very, very often, and perhaps it may constitute a smaller resend window.
Great, thank you, Sean. A couple more questions came in here regarding ads. So first one is, how many ads can you support at any given time?
So there are really no limitations to the number of ads that you can support. I'll show you a sample campaign that I put together here. Really simply, I have 2 ads that are running in tandem. So Mojo Ad 1 and Mojo Ad 2. Any number of ads that you place within a given campaign, the system will randomly push out a single ad, so that every website, every new domain that's hit will trigger that ad to be presented. If you're looking for something to be persistent, like the menu, for example, then you would only incorporate that single ad source with no attached ads, so as to not compete. However, if you're working with a particular vendor selling that space, they may have a series of ads that they would like you to show, in which case you could support that number of ads. Again, the short answer is there's really no limit. It really depends on your strategy and what you want to deliver to your end customer.
Okay, great. The other question regarding ads were whether or not they were location or proximity based.
So that's a really interesting question. So coupons and ads, any of these components, they can absolutely be location-based or proximity-based. And really, this is just a product of how we set up our campaigns. Now you'll notice here, if I were to create a new campaign, I have to choose the locations in which this campaign is valid. Now in this particular example, you can see here that just like throughout our system, everything is location aware. So my campaigns can also be location aware. If I want to have a certain campaign for a territory, for a certain region of the country, or of my entire storefront, I can do that. If I want to be more specific, let's say, for example, I'm a big box retailer. We have multiple departments in our store. We have a wide distribution of access points within any given location. Absolutely, your ads could be location-based, and you could actually target them so that in a particular department, let's say, for example, between the women's department and the men's department, different ads would appear, all of that being based on the access point to which they are connected. So the browser session is persistent. I go from the first floor to the third floor. I'm changing departments. However, as I'm browsing, the ads that are appearing, the overlays that pop up, will all be unique to that particular department based off of how the location was established.
Great, thank you very much. And then just another general question was coming in around availability of Mojo Packet. When, and obviously this would be a global rollout for the person asking the question. They're asking specifically for their country. It should be in the dashboard. Sean, do we have an availability for Mojo Packet?
Yeah, so actually, so Mojo Packets, not a topic discussed during this particular webinar. It is a cloud-hosted visual troubleshooting tool, a graphical packet analyzer. It actually is readily available today. So Mojo Packets is available. If you are not seeing it in your dashboard, I encourage you to reach out to your local rep or contact our support team, and they'll be able to activate that particular service for you.
Great, thank you very much, Sean. That appears to have wrapped all the questions we have for today, but obviously you can contact us anytime if additional questions come up. You can send an email again regarding your free access point to my rep at Mojo Network, or regarding the webinars, you can shoot an email to webinars@mojonetworks.com, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. Please keep your eyes peeled. We will be adding more webinars to our Cloud Wi-Fi series for the rest of the year. We have some really exciting topics and speakers that we're lining up in the coming months. And we thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.